blistering starts to a tennis match.
Shakespeare got it wrong. It wasn't King Lear. It's King Lear.
LeBron James with no regard for human.
Yuvraj Singh finishes things off on style.
This is a Newslaundry podcast, and you're listening to NL Playoffs.
Hello and welcome to NL Playoffs. My name is Gautam. I have with me my co-host Aniket. Aniket, say namaste.
Hello world.
So we are at round 22. Aniket, we are recording this on the 8th of June 2022. India time, it's about 8:10 a.m. We have another special guest joining us, a fellow subscriber. We are pleased to welcome back Abhijit. Abhijit, welcome back to our show, man. It's great to have you.
Hey dude, thank you so much.
So Abhijit now holds the record of maximum recurring NL guest. So welcome back.
Is it 3 or 4?
Third.
I think it's third, yeah.
Okay, that's 3. We have a few things to cover. We'll predominantly be covering the French Open this time around on this episode because we have an expert in the house. We'll be covering French Open, men's, women's, doubles and so on. We'll also try to briefly touch upon the Champions League final that unfortunately for Aniket, Real Madrid ended up winning 1-0 against Liverpool. IPL just concluded. I mean, I watched a lot of it, but it seems like a bygone era already because IPL was so much a part of our lives every day, and then all of a sudden it was gone, and it feels like an end of, I don't know, it feels like 2 months already since the IPL final has passed, but that's for another day. We also have the NBA finals going on. The Golden State Warriors are playing the Boston Celtics. As we speak, the series is tied 1 apiece in the 7-match series. The series is now heading back to Boston, which is very interesting. But having said all that, I think we should open with Abhijit first because he got a new job. And he got a new job in the world of tennis. He got a job in the All India Tennis Association, AITA. Is that right, Abhijit? Tell us more about it.
Yeah, sure. So actually, I'm working as a business development manager at this sports management agency, which organizes events like Pro Tennis League, and there are different conferences and camps. So it's in the world of tennis. And my job with AITA is very limited to their National Tennis Center or NTCs where they are training the upcoming players, and India's best pros go and train there. So the programs that are run there, I'm kind of going to help them run those programs and more of a documentation work and presentation work. Yeah, that's kind of my profile there.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So you're going to rub shoulders with some of the future athletes and some of the people who basically run our tennis ecosystem. So yeah, I'm gonna apply for being your best friend. So
yeah, sure. I mean, of course, it's a dream job, but of course, there's a great responsibility as well. And I'm gonna try my best.
You have a dream job and you have responsibility, which is just the perfect combo. All of us have just responsibilities minus the dream job. So it is great that it's great that you've really actively pursued what you really wanted to do, and now here you are. You are also, offline you're chatting about how back in the day, didn't you apply for internship over there?
Yeah, I remember back in 2014. So I was showing my boss also that 8 years ago I tried to intern at AITA, and that didn't go well. And I did not even hear from them back then. And then, 8 years later, I'm working with them in some capacity. So this is how it has come to, and I'm very happy about that.
Life has mysterious ways, and more power to you. So,
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah. Absolutely. Without further ado, let's get into what we are really here for, which is to recap the French Open that just concluded. I think there's no better place to start than to start with Mr. Rafael Nadal. He has won his 14th Roland Garros title. That's right, he's won 14 French Opens.
The greatest becomes even greater. It is a 14th Roland Garros title for the greatest player this great tournament has ever seen and ever will see. A 22nd Grand Slam title. as he breaks even more records, becomes the oldest ever men's singles champion at Roland Garros, and did it in emphatic fashion. Unstoppable, almost unbeatable at this tournament. Defeats Casper Ruud 6-3, 6-3, 6-love in 2 hours and 18 minutes.
He's won 14 Grand Slam titles on the same surface, which is still kind of insane to me. His 22nd Grand Slam overall, putting him ahead of Federer and Djokovic, who have 20 apiece. Kind of blows my mind. We can go talk about his records later on, but in a way, we were talking, Abhijit, we were talking to Xenia on the last episode, and we were getting her predictions real quick, and she was saying it might be Djokovic or Nadal. It could be the way, but she was leaning on Djokovic. But I said, as long as Nadal is playing, even if he's 43 or 44 on clay, I'm always going to pick Nadal. So it turned out to be that way.
Yeah, man. I mean, when it comes to the big three, we should never write them off, especially at their favorite Grand Slams, like Djokovic at Australian Open, Nadal at French Open, and Federer at Wimbledon. I will always bet on them as long as they're playing.
So it's super interesting you say Federer in Wimbledon, because that would be the dream to actually see Roger Federer, because I'm a Federer fan. But hey, talking about Rafael Nadal, so 22 Grand Slams, which I think is insane. He's now equaled Steffi Graf, and I think one short of Serena. Is that correct? Like in terms of the total number of Grand Slams and the sheer number 22. So I have a question for the panel here. Who thought Nadal would be the first to reach, forget 20, but be 2 ahead of Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic? Please raise your hands.
I remember watching the 2019 Wimbledon, and where Federer defeated Roddick. And that's when Federer beat Sampras's record. That was 14 Grand Slams back then. And to think that people have gone to 22 now, with 3 of them, 20 or 20 plus, that's just unbelievable. It's quite amazing what these 3 have done. And yeah, Rafa among all of them, because they always doubted Rafa in the sense that his physicality and his style of game. They said, okay, he's not going to last for such a long time. And now he's 36 years old, and he won his 22nd Grand Slam. Nobody has done that before. So yeah, that's pretty impressive.
So just to piggy off that data point, you mentioned about 14 Grand Slams. I think this is around 2009, 2010, not the exact year, but Federer, Djokovic, Nadal were on the same scene. And Federer was at 12, I believe, if I'm not wrong, at that
Federer was 16. By 2010 Australian Open, he was 16.
16. So I'm talking about 2009, 2008, something around that time. And I think Djokovic was maybe a single digit or not even on the picture. And here they are, the 3 giants at 20 apiece. I mean, it has been some decade for tennis fans, at least. It's just been crazy.
Absolutely. I mean, especially Nadal on clay, it's been crazy. So his French Open... just a big picture French Open stat. He's played 115 matches in total. He's lost 3 and won a whopping 112 matches. His winning percentage at the French Open is 97%. So he started in 2005. So that's 17 years ago. We are in 2022. We're still talking about him being the favorite. He's probably going, if he's playing next year, he's probably going to be the favorite again. He's lost only 3 times, and the other tournament, and the other year he was out was because of a wrist injury where he had to withdraw in the 3rd round. So, kind of unbelievable. I mean, Rafa on clay, I think, I'll ask Abhijit this question as well. I think what makes Rafa so great on clay is just the style of play. He's a guy who is always on the baseline. He runs and runs and runs like mad. Clay surfaces are obviously slower than the other 2 surfaces. So I think that suits his style very well. He has all of those top spin shots, for a lack of a better word. I think that suits perfectly for the clay court as well. He has these tremendous running forehand winners and backhand winners, mostly the forehand winners, that are actually aided by the fact that the surface is slow, so you can get to the balls pretty quickly or pretty easily than, like grass or hard surfaces. So Abhijit, what do you make of Rafa and his love affair with clay?
You said it, man. I mean, Rafa, because of his aggressive game from the baseline and the topspin he generates, is so much better than anybody else who plays on clay. And as you know, because it's a clay surface, people have more time. The players have more time to collect the ball and hit it back. But Rafa hits his winners with such power that even the best players in the world cannot, get to the ball. So yeah, I mean, Rafa and Clay are like, it's a love story made in heaven. And yeah, I think one day, someone might cross 22 Grand Slams in men's, but I doubt anybody will cross 14 Roland Garroses. So yeah.
Actually, yeah. Let me take that point a little forward. Okay, so 14 Grand Slams by a single player. So 14 Grand Slams on one surface, right? So he has won 14 Grand Slams. So I was trying to come up last night with a very rough list of how we can compare this record with other sports, right? So and to see if that record is actually achievable again by any other person. So we have Sachin's 100 hundreds. I don't know if anybody else is close to getting that, or if it will be broken in our lifetimes at least. So doubtful. The Chicago Bulls, the Michael Jordan's team of 1996, I think, when they won 72 regular season games. That was a record then, which is now obviously broken by the Golden State Warriors. They have 73-9 record, but in that year when the Bulls went 72-10, they also won the championship, which the Warriors did not. So there is still that record to their name, but I'm pretty sure that record can be broken as well, given how the current NBA league is trending. Now Lewis Hamilton, who is still active, he has 103 victories. Now the next best, I'm trying to remember who it is. I think it is probably Schumacher. He's way back already, and nobody on the current grid is even close to touching 50 yet. So he's at 103. So I don't know if that is achievable. Will Chamberlain, he's called the Big Dipper back in the day. He's a great basketball player who was known as this tremendous scorer on the offensive side. He had 100 points in a game, which still stands. I think this record is probably 70 years old. I don't know if that can be broken. Maybe yes, maybe not. We had the two on the squash side of things. We have the two great Pakistani players, Jansher Khan and Jahangir Khan, who have 99 and 61 titles to their name. Again, nobody's even close. And just a last example that I thought on top of my head was Jack Nicklaus in golf, who had 18 majors. Tiger was very close until he had 15, and then he kind of spiraled down a little bit. He had 14 and spiraled down and came back and won one more. So, Aniket, I don't know, just to keep it in context, I don't know if records like these can be broken. Now, there is a slim chance in the list that I said maybe 2 or 3 could be broken, maybe. But I don't think Nadal's 14 French Opens can be beaten anytime soon.
When you said this, it seems it just hits me the greatness of what you've done, right? Basically, it's one surface and you've come 14 times and just, like you said, with a 97%, and he's won it 14 times, but to win 14 times, he's played so many more number of games on that surface, and having a 97% win record is just insane. And some of these records, like I was thinking, for example, Sachin's 100s, right? It is all through his career over various surfaces, but a record similar to this would be one player goes to Lords and just keeps hammering a century every time he steps on the field. So just thinking about it, it just blows my mind. Just the magnanimity of the feat that has been achieved. I don't know if it would ever be broken, but I've learned one thing: never say never in sport. So that's one thing I have learned from experience and the way things typically go. So, but yeah, no, kudos to Nadal and the way he did it this time in style. I want to touch upon this again with this injury that he played with and stuff. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But yeah, some of these records just send him on into the books of the greats, and I don't know if I can add any more value than saying that. Yeah,
records are meant to be broken, right? But I don't know. What do you think, Abhijit? I don't know if this can be broken.
Man, you gave me that list, and it's such a long list, but I would also like to add Usain Bolt and Michael Phelps in that list. Maybe their timings will be beaten, but I don't know if the number of medals they've won, if that can be beaten. But again, athletes are always getting stronger, faster, higher, as the Olympic motto says. And maybe there'll be a player, maybe Alcaraz or, someone in the future who will get to 22 and plus, but that 14, I still have my doubts. Maybe let's see. We'll see. I mean, I'll be happily surprised if that happens again in my lifetime.
Yeah, it seems like such a distant destination right now. Coming back to the tournament itself, as it turned out, Abhijit, it turned out that Nadal's match against Djokovic turned out to be the most critical game, as one would have expected, because as it turned out, in hindsight, the semi-final ended up being short-lived because who retired again? I always forget his name. Medvedev, right?
Zverev.
Zverev. Oh, right. Zverev. Zverev had to retire with a leg injury after the first set, or the end of the first set. And then the final was pretty much a breeze for Nadal. So as it turned out, his match against Djokovic turned out to be the pivotal point of this Grand Slam.
I would say his match against Felix Auger-Aliassime, I think that was like the match that went to distance and, kind of gave a bit of trouble to Rafa. But otherwise, even the Djokovic match, I think it was okay this year, to be honest. I didn't think it was that great. Last year's Djokovic, Rafa at French, that was like a classic, especially that third set. But yeah, I mean, Rafa really didn't have a challenge, this year. I mean, when people were talking before the tournament started, because there's Alcaraz in the same group, Djokovic and Zverev as well. But yeah, none of them could fight him. And Rafa was, he just went to the final very easily and he won it, man. He just did it again for the 14th time.
I mean, he makes it look easy, Aniket, but it's not really easy. No?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's insane. I mean,
it's
just sheer magnanimity of this feat is just mind. And it surprises me that when I think about the younger players coming up, right? Maybe there is still time. I'm being premature, but in making this judgment. But it seems that nobody would dominate one particular surface like Nadal has done, and even forget Nadal for now, but the big picture, no one would dominate tennis just these three have done in our lifetime, like winning one after the other. And when I say these three, I mean Djokovic, Nadal and Federer. The sheer it just seems that it's going to be tough to see this kind of domination by three people again. I don't know. You have thoughts on this?
Dude, just wait till these three retire and then you see how many new slam champions we'll have every year. It will be like, I don't know, 80s or 90s. I mean, there'll be some 4-5 players that will be dominating the decade, but there'll be a lot of one slam wonders and, people on like maybe two slams. Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
That's what I feel. It would be tough to have a career span like this. It would be tough. I don't say no, but it would really be, it would take someone of some metal and calling to come and play like this, and I'm honestly looking forward for it as a sporting fan. You always look for the next generation to pick up the mantle, so I'm totally looking up for that. But at this point, I would really struggle to point to one person and say, oh, this person could actually do that. So yeah, time will tell.
In a way, tennis fans are spoiled because if you look at the transition, I can maybe take start with Becker. It went from Becker to Agassi to Sampras to Federer to, Radic was there, but Federer and Nadal and Djokovic. And now we hit the jackpot with three of them playing at the same time and winning, 62 Grand Slams together. So it's kind of crazy. But I think we were a little spoiled for choice. But I think, as you said, once all the three athletes retire, we'll see what happens. It might be one of those Grand Slams, where on grass and hard courts, whenever Serena Williams is not playing, it's up for grabs. Anybody, there was a time when this person might win or that person might win. So who knows what happens? Did you see? I think it was Federer who said that they should rename the center court with Rafael Nadal's name. Did you see that? Was it Federer who said that?
It was the Federer coach.
Oh, it was Federer's coach who said that. Okay, so Federer's coach said that they should rename the center court at Roland Garros to Rafael Nadal, which I think is very fair considering how big of an achievement or how much is already achieved. Now, also, which I was a little curious, so I looked up who Philippe Chatrier was. So here's his resume, guys. He was a former tennis player from France. His Grand Slam singles results were: he made the third round in the French Open in 1949. He made the third round in Wimbledon in 1951. He lost in the first round at the US Open in 1955. And that is it. He has Grand Slam doubles. He made it to the second round in Wimbledon. But then I think he went on to be an administrator, and he went on to become the president of the FTA, the French Tennis Association, for 20 years. So that's why they named the center court after him. But I think, come on, it's high time you either build a big ass statue outside the center court that has Rafael Nadal's the bronze, I don't know, his running forehand or something, or rename the center court after him.
So I have a point to make here, and I just say that, yeah, what Rafa has done is a tremendous feat. But the other thing is that Philippe was a French person who actually worked towards development of the French tennis, right? So that has a place in itself. With that being said, the way Rafa is loved at Roland Garros, I would not be surprised if any of what both of you have said actually happens, because I think the people just love him there, and you can see it when he plays tennis there. I think he would call it home at this point. Yeah, for sure.
The French crowd is very tough to win, okay? And if you can, in the last week itself, there was a player called Alizé Cornet, a French player, and she was booed by her own French audience. And even if you can go back in time and, check out videos where Martina Hingis is playing against someone and then French crowd is booing her. And I mean, it's a really tough crowd.
For sure. So, just to add to that, even in football, so Neymar, Messi and all were booed by the PSG fans, just to give more context. So it seems like data tells us that they're a tough group of fans to win over. And here comes a Spaniard.
And they still love Rafa so much. So that's saying something.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I think it's high time they rename it. Also, if you end up winning 14 Grand Slams at Roland Garros, you have to, even though you don't like him, you have to begrudgingly accept that he's pretty good on clay. So that there's that. So any other key takeaways for you, Abhijit, on the men's side of things? I know we spoke at length about Nadal. I mean, we can just keep talking about Nadal and clay till let's
go ahead. Give a shout out to Casper also, because it's his first slam final.
And he's Norwegian, I saw, which was very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, imagine.
And he's also trained in Nadal's academy, if I believe, because that was a question that was brought up. I don't know the exact context, but in his press conference after, he was asked, and even Nadal was asked, and Nadal is so humble. He's so nicely, he just said, I don't remember, and he kind of called it a dumb question without saying it in words. But so do you know more about this, Abhijit? Like, did he train with Nadal?
So Rafa has this academy called Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, and Casper used to train there. So yeah, he's like one of the alumni, you can say. And but yeah, I mean, Casper, past 1 year, what he's done is pretty amazing. He broke into top 10. He played the ATP finals last year. His most successful surface is clay. And this is his first French Open final, and I don't think it's his last. I think he's one of the best clay court players in the world right now, along with Rafa, Tsitsipas, Zverev. Dominic Thiem is out right now. He's not in form, but yeah, if I have to pick up, Djokovic and these 4-5 guys, Casper is in the top 5 for sure. And once these Djokovic and Nadal kind of go away, I think someone like Casper and Stefanos Tsitsipas and these guys will take their place in the world of clay.
And it's interesting you say that, because if you looked at the final just without any other context, you would see the sheer dominance Rafa had over what we are considering one of the top 5 players in tennis and on clay court, right? It's just, I mean, and I think Casper said it in his words. I read it on one of the websites where he said something along the lines that I'm not his first victim. So, which basically I was like, yeah, I mean, that's true. There've been like hundreds before you. So, I think it's a great moment. Like you said, shout out to Casper, because coming and knowing that the person you're playing has won there 13 times and has whatever stats Gautam said, 97% win record. It just takes a gumption to show up and do your best. So that's that. But I wanted to touch upon one thing which I was not very familiar with. I learned later in post-match conferences is that Nadal was playing with a foot injury, and he spoke about how his doctor would give injections to his leg to put his feet asleep, and that's how he would play. And in the post-match conference, he did talk about he can't go on doing this for longer. So, do any of you have a little bit more context and some insights you can provide along these lines?
Sure. So basically, what he has, like this, his words basically, where he said it's not an injury. He's just been injured. He's been playing with this condition for a very long time. So this is not something new. But this is how it's been going on. And for those reasons, he takes these medications which kind of numbs his foot. And that's how he's been playing. So yesterday I saw one video in Paris where they're doing the photo shoot that he was, cramping there as well. And, he was limping later on, and it was like really difficult sight. But yeah, I mean, this is Rafa. He's gone through this again and again. And I think that's the reason maybe, last year is probably, I think, and then he'll probably retire, 15 at Roland Garros, and that's it, I think, because he keeps saying that he wants to focus on his life post tennis. He wants to do things post tennis. So yeah, I mean, let's see what happens. But that injury is something he's been carrying it for a very long time.
Yeah, because I remember even the Australian Open, when he came back, he came from that injury, and the sheer insanity of playing with injections, your feet asleep, and then it just sounds insane to me. It just it requires some level of dedication to the sport. Also, one thing I want to touch upon previously, which I missed, was Rafa's attitude, right? So I think the clay court also supports his attitude, which is like resilience. Gautam, you already mentioned it's one of the slowest courts, but he is just he doesn't stop. Like, he just keeps going as long as the ball, as long as the ball is alive. You will see Rafa trying to get to it. I've never seen him, to be honest, never seen him give up. Like, I've never seen that, and that's, I think, one thing that's the kind of attitude that takes to do crazy stuff like this. Yep.
The injuries, the specific one he had this time around makes me doubt if he would actually play Wimbledon this year.
I don't think so, man. It's like a exhibition event where he might just slip on that grass. So I doubt he'll play Wimbledon.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Federer, on the other hand, might play.
No, Federer is not coming until
the end of this year, right? He's coming back for the
I thought it was back
the tournament he's organizing. I forget what is that. So
Lever Cup. He's coming back for Lever Cup, and then he's gonna play Basel. That's his home tournament. Yeah. I think that's his comeback schedule. But yeah, not before that. He's not coming before that.
Okay, interesting. I thought Federer would be back for Wimbledon. Maybe not. So
one thing, Gautam. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Abhijit mentioned slipping. I just wanted to talk about, did you guys see Zverev's injury? It was, I happened to see it live, and oh my God, it hurt me just watching, and you could hear him grieve in pain. And so apparently he has, I think, 3, ligaments or something that have actually torn, and he basically had to get an operation, and he walked off on crutches. So that was painful. But I wanted to talk about that match because I think the first set came kind of close, where it was 7-6.
No, it was 6-6.
The first one was 7-6, I think Nadal won, and then it was 6-6 in the second set, and that's when the injury happened, I believe. So, yeah. So again, that made me hurt. Physical, also, that caused me physical pain seeing him like that. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw him. I missed the injury, but I saw him come out in crutches and shake hands and so on. Also, you had a few pointers on Felix Auger-Aliassime. Abhijit, what do you make of him?
Yeah, I think Felix Auger-Aliassime is, we've been hearing about this guy since back in 2016. I remember visiting French Open, and I went to see his boys singles final where he lost. And that time he was 15, 16 years old. And we've been hearing that he's the next big things ever since. And finally this year, he won his first title in his 9th attempt. So he had lost his 8 ATP finals. And finally, on his 9th attempt, he won one title earlier this year against Tsitsipas. And now I think he's getting in the zone where he's one of the best performers on the circuit. And even what he did against Rafa, pushing him to the fifth set, I think that was pretty amazing. And I think he will do better at Wimbledon now because his preferred surface is grass. So I think we're going to see more from Felix Auger-Aliassime later this year. And I think he has a potential to become a top 5 player very soon.
And he's like, what, 21? So you're telling me he's like won his 10th attempt, and I'm like at 21. That's crazy.
Well, how old was Nadal when he won the French Open?
19.
19, right? Yeah, okay. No, I mean,
all these. Rafa was 19, Djokovic was 20, and Federer was 21 when they won their first.
So I think this is a good segue. So Iga Swiatek, did she break his record of winning it at 18? She won it at 18. Is that correct? Or she won it?
She won it 2020, so she must be 18 back then. Yeah.
Yeah. So correct. I think she was the youngest person to win French Open, and I wanted to talk about the women's final too and her journey, because to be honest, I actually hadn't followed her that closely. So I would really like to learn more about her. And I know she's been unbeaten now for how many games?
35.
5 wins in a row.
Also, this was, as we spoke with Xenia, she said this was probably one of the most predictable winners that there could be because she was on such a hot streak, Abhijit. So what do you make of Iga? Sorry.
Man, so basically what happened earlier this year, Ash Barty, she decided her retirement, and her world number 1 ranking went to Iga. And people were like, oh my God, this woman hasn't even earned that spot. And then I think that kind of, fueled her. And she hasn't stopped winning since then, man. She has won 35 matches in a row, which is a record tied with Venus Williams when she did the same back in 2000. And these tournaments include, WTA 1000 tournaments like Miami and Indian Wells and Rome. And it was no surprise that she was going to win this because she was so dominant. But you know how dominant? She's beating her opponents by 6-1, 6-0 in a lot of these matches. So in tennis, we say 6-1 is a breadstick and 6-0 is a bagel. So she's been serving bagels and breadsticks. And actually, there's a website called egasbakery.com that you can go and check out. There is just a list of matches where she has served these bagels and breadsticks to her opponents. So man, I mean, she's so dominant right now and so unstoppable. And it's amazing. I'm such a big fan of hers. She's of course a fellow Rafa fan, and she listens to Pearl Jam, everything from Pearl Jam to Dua Lipa. She reads books. She's a
AC/DC.
I mean, a very cool 21-year-old who's rocking the tennis world right now.
She's cut from the old as well as the new cloth, so this is interesting. So quiz time, guys. Aniket, I don't know if you're looking at the dog. Don't look at the dog. But so she's at 35. Who holds on the women's side? Who has the record for the most number of wins? Highest winning streak. No, women. Well, let's start with women.
I thought he just mentioned Venus, right? 35 equal.
No, Venus. She Iga broke Venus's record, but there are more people. There are more winners.
Yeah, maybe before 2000. I'm not sure, man. Because
so the longest winning streak is 74.
Must be Navratilova or Evert, one of the two.
Yeah, no, it is Navratilova. So here's the thing. So there are of the top 10 winning streaks, Martina Navratilova is in 5. It's kind of crazy.
What?
So she had this. She had this golden period from 82 to 84. In fact, right through 86, 87. So she had 74. That's the record of winning streak. 74 in 1984. She had 58, which is the third all time. 86, 87 season. 54 in 83, 84. And then she had 41 in 82 and 39 in 82, 83. Kind of crazy. So she had 5 of the top 10. Second is Steffi, which she has 66 in 1989, 90. Evert is there in 74 with 56. But yeah, I mean, we are thinking 35 is a lot of games to win on the trot, but try to beat 74. I mean, that's crazy. But also on the other next obvious question is on the men's side. Take a guess. Who has the record?
I think Djokovic was very short of breaking that record because I think he had 43 or 41 wins.
43,
11,
correct.
43, and
Yeah.
Federer beat him at French Open in 2011 to break that record. So
Correct.
I remember that win very clearly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think Djokovic was 2 wins away from McEnroe, maybe.
No, he was 3 wins away from Guillermo Vilas.
Oh, got it.
So he had that second, by the way, that is 46. So Guillermo Vilas at 46, but who was number 1? 53 wins.
Oh, wow.
1977-78.
I'm not even trying to think right now. So
It's a fairly easy guess. It's an obvious guess, in a way.
Is it Borg? Is it McEnroe?
It is Bog.
Yeah.
53. Bjorn
The
Borg. So
king-
Bjorn Borg, 53.
King Borg.
Yeah, I know. So Bjorn Borg is 53, Vilas 46, Djokovic 43, Federer 42 in that 2005-6 season.
Yeah.
Sampras, as you said, had 39 in the 94, which is interesting. Thomas Muster, haven't heard of him in 95. I don't know if anybody knows of Thomas Muster.
Yeah, he's the
Ili
Austrian
Nastas, I think I've heard his name here and there, but not really sure.
Romanian legend.
Yeah, okay. And then Rod Laver and Nadal tied with 32. So there are your winning streaks. But yeah, I mean, total domination from Iga Swiatek. Do you think she's going into Wimbledon as the favorite again?
I'm not sure about Wimbledon, man. The thing is, this Wimbledon, we don't even know who's gonna play. Like Naomi Osaka said, she might not play Wimbledon. But anyway, Osaka is not a favorite at grass. Swiatek, maybe she's in a good form, so that kind of helps. We'll see, man. Wimbledon, I predictions. The thing is, the Wimbledon is the most difficult to win among these 4 Grand Slams in terms of dominance. So we'll see what happens.
because last year was crazy, right? We had our wild card entry win, so it was crazy.
No, you're talking about Emma Raducanu,
Yeah.
right? She went deep in the at Wimbledon, but she only won at the US Open.
Oh, right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, last year's Wimbledon is where Emma Raducanu became a star, and yeah, she's still a star, man. I was
She's
just checking
struggling
out
though.
a video of hers yesterday. She released a video with Dua Lipa promoting the Evian water. I mean,
Really?
what a big change in 1 year, right?
That's crazy. She's struggling though. She had multiple coaching changes, so she's still trying to find a footing a little bit to kind of keep that going.
So before we leave this, I wanted to talk about basically the women's final. So against Coco Gauff, how do you right? That's correct. So basically, so I'm just asking to learn because a little bit ignorant. I haven't followed either of their careers greatly. But what really inspired me was the post-match when I heard Iga Swiatek talk.
And I wanted to, at the end, say something to Ukraine to stay strong because the war is still there. And since my first speech in Doha, basically, I was hoping that when I'm going to do the next one, the situation is going to get better, but I'm still going to, have hopes and try to support. So thank you guys and see you next year.
Great job. Nice, well done.
Right? Even after winning, I think she gave such a nice, she's so humble and she gives a nice talk. And then at the end, she had a shout out to Ukraine too in all this mess. But clearly, the kids seem to have a great head on them. But I wanted to talk about the match in general. What did you think? Because it was clean. It was almost a walkover, for Swiatek. But a little bit about Coco Gauff. What is he? What is she? What's her pedigree? And why was this interesting for you?
Yeah, so before Iga became a star in the tennis world, Coco was already a star. I don't know if you guys remember, but back in 2019, I think this was at Wimbledon, she defeated Venus at Wimbledon.
Yeah,
Okay.
I remember that.
She was 15 years
I
old.
couldn't remember that. Okay.
She was just 15 years old, and that's when she became a star. So we've been talking about Coco Gauff for past 3 years. And this year, she reached the finals, not in just in singles, but in doubles as well. And she's a very complete player. Of course, her idols were Serena and Venus. And I think she's going to have a great career. I think she's a solid player. And this final, she, came across a very, hot Iga Swiatek, who's on this crazy streak. But I think she will have better chances next time, and they might have a great rivalry building up. You never know. I think,
in a way, it's probably a wrong statement, but in a way, both Casper Ruud and Coco Gauff were there to, were happy to be there in a way, because first time finalists, they had very little to lose, so. Totally no worries. So as you said, Abhijit, she missed out on both singles and the doubles titles, so she would have gotten a Grand Slam double, right? Another trivia here. So I don't know what I was doing last night. I was pulling up all kinds of trivia. So in terms of players who achieved this feat in previous Grand Slams, now we'll get one person out of the way again. Martina Navratilova, apparently from 1978 to 87. She accomplished this feat 14 times by herself. 14 times she won both singles and doubles in the same Grand Slam. It's an all-time record, okay? After that, it's Margaret Court, 12 times. She won it 12 times, but then she won 7 in the Open era and the 5 in the Amateur era. So that was before 60s and so on. But from 1987, any guesses as to who might have done it? There are about 8 or 9 players. Women's side.
I think Martina Hingis is a very good...
Hingis is there. Hingis won it in 97 Australian Open, 98 Australian Open. Yep.
Who else? I don't know, man. Now singles players don't play doubles unless you're...
But back in the day, I'm sure you do remember, because there are 1 or 2 obvious choices.
Yeah, again, maybe Chris Evert.
No, Chris Evert wasn't there, I don't think.
Wow.
Did Graf play?
Graf won it in 1988. She won the Wimbledon. And she also won it with Gabriela Sabatini.
Boris also on the list?
Who's that?
Boris Becker? Is he on the list?
No, this is just women's. I'm going to get to the men's, I think, later on. I don't think I have a men's thing, but yeah.
No, man.
The Williams sisters, they used to play singles and doubles, right? So Venus and Serena, both of them had it. Any other guesses? From the 90s? No, from the early 2000s.
Is it Kim Clijsters, maybe? Lindsay Davenport?
Lindsay Davenport, yes.
Yeah,
Lindsay Davenport, 99. Mary Pierce, 2000.
Oh, Mary Pierce.
Mary Pierce doesn't often get mentioned. She's very underrated.
Dude, I'm going to send you one video of hers later on. She hits this crazy shot like a queen. It went viral again last week. And I was like, wow, what a player.
Yeah, but anyway, Coco Gauff would have achieved one of those improbable feats, but it was not to be. Also, with French, from a rules point of view on the men's side, did any rule change happen in terms of fifth set tiebreakers? Because
now all 4 Grand Slam have the same. No, they're gonna play super tiebreaker in the deciding set.
So that is new to me, because I don't know if it was completely under the rock or something, because last I knew about it, it was if it was if deciding fifth set, it would go to whoever broke the serve and up by 2
with the distance of 2.
After 6-6. When did that change?
This a few months ago.
Okay, so how does a super tiebreak work?
Yeah, so can you explain it to us? Can you just tell us what happens?
Sure. So now in a normal tiebreaker, to decide a set, there are 7 points, right? Any person who gets to 7 or by the difference of 2 wins the tiebreaker. In a super tiebreaker, there are 10 points that are played. Whoever gets to 10 first wins the super tiebreaker. So this
what if it's 9-9?
Then it goes to 11-9. You have to win 11-9. Difference of 2.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, so that was new to me, but I'm assuming that is probably to reduce the length of that matches.
Those
otherwise it can
5-hour, 6-hour matches that we see. Yeah.
Oh, you also had a note, by the way, on the doubles side. Rohan Bopanna made it to the semi-finals. He was paired up with Middlecoop. Is that his name? Middlecoop?
Correct.
Yeah. How did he do this time around?
Dude, semis, that was a great result. We were hoping he reaches the final and lifts the trophy because Bob's has just 1 slam. It's a great achievement, of course, but in comparison with, Pace, Bhupati, Sania, who are like multiple slam champions,
Yeah.
I was hoping Bobs gets there. But yeah, not a bad result. And this year actually has been very well for him. He won at Tata Open Maharashtra with Ram, and then he also won another 250 in Australia at the beginning of the year. And now he's playing with Shapovalov at Stuttgart this week. Bobs is still, the last remaining torchbearers of Indian tennis on men's side, who's still, going deep in slams and all. So yeah, I mean, I hope he's 42, man, but he doesn't look 42. He's playing so well.
He's 42. Geez.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I hope he continues to play for some time, and because it's gonna be like Sania is retiring later this year. If Bobs also goes away, we don't have any double specialists in the sense that the ones who won slams and all that. So yeah, I hope he stays around for a bit more.
Oh, so the other thing you had also, Abhijit, we have to talk the Grand Slam that is coming up in terms of Wimbledon. Okay, so let's get to Wimbledon then. Coming up in what? It usually creeps up pretty quickly after French Open. It's in a month's time.
It starts 27 June, sometime around that time.
So it's 3 weeks. So yeah, 3 weeks to go. So Wimbledon 2022, there's been a bit of back and forth going on between the tennis federations and the Wimbledon governing body. Now Wimbledon has said that they're not going to, but they are banning all players from Russia and Belarus from participating. And in turn, now the tennis association, is it ATP and WTA together? Is that the okay?
WTA, ITF.
Yeah, ITF. So they said they're not going to introduce any ranking points. So Abhijit, give us some context. I know we only know that, as far as I only know that the Wimbledon authorities have banned Russians and Belarusian players from playing. But what has the response been from the federations?
Yeah. So as we all know, the Ukraine's invasion by Russia has, kind of caused this effect all across sports. And Wimbledon decided to take this decision because the UK government kind of gave them an advisory in which there was a point which said, whatever it takes to reduce the influence of Russia and Belarus, you're supposed to do it. And I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago to you that I was reading this book by George Orwell, Why I Write. And in that, there's one entire chapter dedicated about England and war. And I realized that the English people in general, they have these strong anti-war sentiments. And maybe it's more about the perception of being the good guys than actually, the reality of being the good guys. That's kind of the sentiment I think they carry. And yeah, that has resulted into Wimbledon taking this crazy decision of crazy and wrong, I would say, decision to ban Russian and Belarusian players. And of course, the sporting governing bodies on the players' side, that is ATP, WTA, and ITF, they have decided to not grant any ranking points for Wimbledon this year. So yeah, that's the background story.
So what does that mean? If they don't grant ranking points, what happens? How does it change anything? What is different?
Sure. So what happens in ATP, WTA, and ITF ranking is you have this 52 week score that you're carrying. That determines your ranking, and that determines your entry into the tournaments, right? So for example, when you win a Grand Slam, you get 2,000 points. If there's an ATP 250, you get 250 points for winning the tournament. If there's an ATP 1000, you get 1000 points. Similarly on the WTA side. So now when a player does not get 2,000 points, for winning the tournament, basically, or even 180 points for, getting in the fourth round, you're basically losing on those points. And some players, they went deep in the tournaments, right? Someone like, let's say, Berrettini or Shapovalov, Djokovic. These guys won't be able to defend their points. That means their rank will go down. So now you see, Medvedev will become world number one even without playing Wimbledon,
Yeah.
because Djokovic will fall down. So stuff like that. So
and he will fall because he will not get points for playing Wimbledon,
correct. Right? Yeah, exactly.
So that is how, it's kind of punishing the Wimbledon authorities by doing such a thing. But yeah. I think Wimbledon is still staying put. They said, we understand the decision, we are disappointed by it, but we are going to still stick to the stance, is what they said.
So can we spend a minute more? So this is super interesting. I just learned about this now, right? So thank you. You made my day. I've learned something new. But what are your thoughts on this? So this seems super interesting. So I mean, Abhijit, we can get your thoughts as well, because me and Gautam discussed this earlier. This whole ban on Russian and Belarusian players. I think I speak for Gautam when I say that we both think it's not a nuanced stand. It's a pretty stupid is a strong word, but it is not thought through. It is not thought through move on banning. And is this now this you say the federation is not giving a ranking point? Is that sticking it back to the Wimbledon? Like, what is the larger goal of doing this? Like, I'm kind of missing the point, I guess.
So basically, when you don't avoid ranking points, basically that event is an exhibition, right?
I see. Okay.
It's like a glorified exhibition where people just gonna come and they're gonna win a trophy and then they're gonna win prize money, but they don't have ranking points because only the best play to win the tournaments. The majority of players are just trying to, climb the ranks.
Yep.
Step up. That's their goal of the year. That's how they schedule their tournaments and so on. But of course, again, it's Wimbledon. The oldest and the most prestigious tournament in the world.
Right.
So there are very mixed feelings about this entire topic, very polarized opinions. But yeah, I mean, I think this was a very poor decision by Wimbledon because the sport is all about non-discrimination. And what Putin is doing is nothing to do with Medvedev or Rublev and people from Belarus like Victoria Azarenka. So yeah, I do not agree with this decision made by Wimbledon, and I'm glad ATP is doing this. But at the same time, it's hurting some players, so that's not a good thing. So it's a very complex problem, man. It's a very
it's a lose-lose for everybody. Nobody's winning in this, but that's given the circumstances. I think that the cards have been dealt, and this is what we have. This is what we have. But also remember, without the rankings also decide what seeds the player gets moving into a tournament, right? So that also influences a lot of things.
Yeah.
So there is that factor as well.
Ranking is super important, man.
Yeah.
Ranking is super important.
Yep. In a way, I think Wimbledon is lucky because, as you said, it's the oldest and the most prestigious. So people will still go and play. It's if they win, it's still one more Grand Slam to their name, right? So I'm sure they're still going to play.
Djokovic is going to be there for sure.
Djokovic is going to be there. He's already missed out on one or two, right?
Yeah, even the Australian and the
Australia couldn't play. Last year he lost to Medvedev. French Open he lost to Nadal. Now let's see what happens.
Yeah. So yeah, he's going to play. I'm sure he's itching. So but yeah, we've Abhijit and Aniket and myself have spoken about this at length, so I think we should probably leave it at there. But the only interesting thing you said was Orwell spoke about how the British have an anti-war sentiment, but they've also always had a pro-conquest sentiment. They always like invading people and conquering.
That's what I said. No, I think it's more about perception of goodness than the reality of goodness, or that moral compass thing.
They still revel in their monarchy. She just finished 75 years of her quote-unquote reign, so they were just all basking in her glory.
So it was also called back in the day in our textbooks, I think, the white man's burden, right? To uplift the world. So maybe it's something along those lines, but yeah. So let's get to the other talking point, right? So we've spoken about Wimbledon. The fact that Abhijit mentioned Wimbledon will end up being only an exhibition game kind of made me feel, it made me recheck what I think about Wimbledon. Like, it just surprised me, but nevertheless. So let's go and talk about, let's cap this episode off with talking about the Champions League. Unless you guys have something else you want to talk about in the tennis front. So let's go ahead. Abhijit, so Real Madrid, just to give you a recap, Real Madrid played Liverpool. Real Madrid had a streak of insane comebacks with every team. So I think there was Chelsea there was PSG there was Man City, right? So all these three teams, they nicked back in the last minute thanks to Karim Benzema. Obviously, there were other goals too. That was scored other important goals, but I'm putting Benzema out there because that's how it seemed, at least when I jog back in memory. Most of the games, he rose up to the occasion and played. And then Liverpool obviously went into the finals. And then the finals ended 1-0 was the score. So Real Madrid unfortunately winning it. I'm saying it on record. But yeah, with that, what did you have as a sports enthusiast? What did you think? Whom were you rooting for? Did you have a horse in the race? Did you care? Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, man. So actually, I'm a United fan. So Madrid beating Liverpool in this was kind of, like, yeah, well done, Madrid. And yeah, I miss college days, this season. So that because in college, I used to stay up late and watch these matches. And now I don't get the time. So I ended up watching the highlights. But yeah, man, Madrid, like, is their 5th title in last 7-8 years? That's something crazy. I think they did something like this back in 50s or 60s, and now they're doing it again. What a great run, right? And Benzema, I think he's a favorite for winning Ballon d'Or again this year. And I think he deserves it, man. Like, I didn't think we'll see Benzema win a Ballon d'Or. So I hope, they vote him. And yeah.
And Gautam, what is with Real Madrid and the Champions League? Dude,
they just have the bug, man. They just have the knack of winning it. Once you get, some teams have this, once they get the taste of it, they know they have this, the intangibles, as they say, right? They know that they're going to come back. They know they're going to fight back from a tough position. If it's a final, they know how to play. They know they rise up for the big occasion. Some of the players, if you remember, there's Modric, there's Cruz, there's Marcelo, Courtois, Benzema. All of these guys have been there for a long time. So they've seen a lot of games together, a lot of big games together, right?
I think, so just to add to that, some of the individuals in the team have won it, I think, 5 times now. Yeah, so there's a significant chunk of that team that is like a 5-time Champions League winner in there. And again, one more shout out was to coach Carlo Ancelotti. So I think it's his 4th Champions League. I think he's gone to every league. He's done everything you can right now. And let's not forget, he was with Everton. So that's a pretty big swing in his year, moving from Everton to Real Madrid and then winning both the league and the Champions League.
Good thing Abhijit didn't stay up to watch the game. First of all, the match was delayed by 50 minutes or so. Guess what, guys? Surprise, surprise. UFA messed things up again. UFA and FIFA messing things up is the biggest non-surprise of them all. I know, it's just wild.
And it was
even more.
Go ahead, Gautam. No, go ahead.
No, even more, they blamed it on the fans. So there was this big giant Megatron, right? The big screen in the stadium. So said the match was delayed because late arrival of fans. So they were blaming it on the fans when it was very apparent very quickly that the fans were just tailgating for 3 hours, just waiting outside the stadium to trying to get in. But there was all these bottlenecks on the Liverpool side. So it is just classic UFA all around. But then I think I don't know if they've still owned up completely or not, but pending quote unquote investigation and whatnot. So you did not miss that. And also, as I always say this, finals like these, you always get matches that are typical of a final but not worthy of a final, right? It's always the semi-finals or the quarterfinals that are the really
more
good
exciting
games. They're more exciting. The finals are, they have time. Teams tend to be on the defensive side, not to concede typically, because this is just a one-off match and you have to make the most of the opportunity. And it turned out that way. The hero of Liverpool started really well, but the player of the match obviously was Courtois, who made some tremendous saves. This has been the year of Benzema, and also this has been the year of Thibaut Courtois.
Single-handedly,
and with a single hand, he made a lot of saves.
Yeah, and he had, to be honest, again, Madrid had no business being in this final. It has just been individuals rising up to the occasion. So this is what I think you meant, Gautam, is this notion of, muscle memory or having it in your DNA on how to win these kind of tournaments. So again, Courtois made some insane saves, and I think he was the man of the match, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure he would have, because he did bring them in the game. And I can't remember right now. Maybe Lippy can play the video, but who scored the winning goal?
Vinicius
Jr. Yeah.
Tucking across to the left is Van Dijk. And he might just have some defending to do here as Valverde lines him up. has an opportunity to cross, and there has to be the opening goal. It's Vinicius Junior, beautifully picked out. That far post ball works magically once again for Real Madrid, who strike the first blow in Paris. And it was all from Andy Robertson being caught out of position. It just enabled Valverde an opportunity to run. Carvajal with the decoy run. And how often do we see this one? Alexander-Arnold will have known that they score goals on the far post, but he wasn't there, and Vinicius Junior was.
Body shape all wrong, look. He's unaware, he should be checking his shoulder. It's a great ball into an area which just caused problems.
Alexander-Arnold was caught sleeping and he snuck backdoor.
Yeah, that's right. So that was the Champions League.
But also Courtois, by the way, at the end of the post-match conference, he was being little sassy. He's like, I'd never got the respect that I deserve. People talk about Mendy, probably because the way I left things at Chelsea, that's why people don't like me. But I think I should be in the top 5 or top 10.
Did he say that? I didn't.
Oh yeah, he did.
Oh, he took Mendy's name.
I don't know if he took Mendy's name or not, but definitely took Chelsea's name.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no. I have strong opinions.
One point before we close.
You go ahead.
I just want to talk about how, this club success, when we see if at the history, they always run in cycles, like United had this crazy role with the Premier League, and now what Madrid is doing with Champions League. It's usually one or two individuals who come in the system and they change the game, right? Like maybe Guardiola did it at Barcelona recently, and of course back in the 90s also they had their own legends. So right now I think this Madrid is like when they wanted to win their 10th or La Decima, was it 11th or
the 10th? The 10th, yeah.
The 10th, right? They put so many years towards that goal, and they tried to bring these different personalities and players. And when they had, of course, Ronaldo and Bale, and I think it was Carlo Ancelotti again who made them win the La Decima. So
I think it was Zidane, maybe.
Zidane won La Decima.
No, it was Ancelotti and then 3 Zidane and then Ancelotti again. I'm talking about 2014. The first,
If it was that back then, yes. Ancelotti actually won it for Real Madrid too, I think.
Yeah. So it's we have to give credit to these individuals who come and change the systems. Ferguson at United did the same, and I think Ancelotti deserves more credit here. The only man to win 4 times and with 2 different teams twice, that's pretty amazing. We always talk about Mourinho and Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, but I think Ancelotti just doesn't come in the conversation much, but of course he deserves that respect.
And what's interesting is Zidane is a close second, with 3 wins, all 3 with Real Madrid. So I'm curious to see where he goes next. Actually, it'll be really interesting to see his managing game in another league or with another team. Very interested. So with that being said, Gautam, do you want to add anything more to this? I think we've spoken about the fans, UEFA's, I don't know, what do you call, botching it up or whatever. And then the game in general, Thibaut Courtois. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think I'm good. Abhijit, I think if we don't have anything, we should move on to some recommendations. Abhijit, do you have anything for us?
Oh, wow. This week's recommendation, let me think.
Caught you off guard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, I read this book on tennis. Let me just get the name right. It's called The Inner Game of Tennis. So basically, it talks about implicit learning, where a little or no instruction can help you achieve whatever you want. So it's more about sports psychology. I found that book really helpful. It's helping me with my tennis, and in general also I think it's a really good book for anything else also that you want to get it done. So please do check it out. It's called The Inner Game of Tennis.
Nice.
Aniket?
So my only recommendation is going to be, it's not a specific one, but I would recommend the listeners to go Google. There are a lot of videos doing this run, but all of Nadal's 22 winning points. It is just fascinating to watch all the people he has beaten, and it ranges from like Federer to Djokovic to everyone you can name. So just go watch that. But beyond that, I don't have any other recommendation this week.
I have a couple of recommendations. The first one is, I know we briefly spoke about Wilt Chamberlain and his 100-point game in the NBA. There's a neat, very short, about 4 to 5 minute short documentary about that game. One of those feats that cannot be replicated anytime soon, but who knows, it might happen. So definitely check that out. Also, obviously, last but not the least, Newslaundry, guys. Go to www.newslaundry.com and hit that subscribe button. All of us, the three of us who spoke on this episode, we just met only because of Newslaundry here. So please go to the website, check all of the stuff that Newslaundry has going, all the podcasts, all the ground reports, all the articles, everything that it has to offer. Please do subscribe to pay to keep news free. Did I say that right, Aniket? Pay to keep news free.
You did. And I think all of us have a stake in a thriving democracy, and this is how we can contribute to retain the democracy that we have and our earlier generations have given us. So independent media is the fourth pillar. So guys, go support independent media, more specifically Newslaundry. And if you have any suggestions, write to us like Abhijit did. Come talk to us, teach us about various aspects of sport and how you participate in the sporting ecosystem, just like Abhijit is. So Abhijit is a good ambassador for our podcast. So yeah, and keep them coming in the podcast letters. So until next time, bye-bye.
Awesome. And also, Newslaundry will not suspend myself or Aniket because of some inflammatory statements that we would make, because we will not make them like JP did. So anyway, I just want to work that joke in. I just want to work that in, but no. But thank you so much, Abhijit, for joining us again. I'm sure we'll talk to you again once Wimbledon concludes, and we'll get you there again to recap that tournament, that exhibition tournament. So until next time, guys. Thanks, Aniket. Thanks, Abhijit. Have a good day, and thanks to producer Lippy as well.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Speak to you in a few weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All the Newslaundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to Newslaundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs, and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We, being an independent platform, depend on our readers, viewers, and listeners. Support independent media by subscribing to Newslaundry. Go to newslaundry.com, click on the subscribe button at the top, and pay to keep news free.